have a realization of, what particular team I have been a part of in that particular year. And, understanding this year, we fought and we played to the maximum ability of our team. But ultimately, if we're being completely honest, we were out-talented. We were not outworked. We were not, they didn't out-physical us. They didn't outsmart us. I feel like we were just out-talent.
The biggest question now is accountability. Championship leaders are usually remembered for taking responsibility when things go wrong, not for explaining why the roster wasn't good enough. That's why LeBron's comments created so much debate. Fans weren't just reacting to the losses, they were reacting to the message that followed them. When you're widely viewed as the face of the franchise and someone with enormous influence over roster decisions, every public statement carries extra weight. Whether fair or unfair, many people believe that leadership means accepting criticism before directing it elsewhere.
Did not have enough talent, and the second those words left his mouth, the internet realized something hilarious. The roster he just called untalented? He built it.
As the offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on how the Lakers respond. Will the front office continue building around LeBron's vision, or will it take a different approach to reshape the roster? Those decisions could define the next chapter for the organization. At the same time, Bronny faces enormous pressure to prove he belongs in the NBA based on his own development rather than the circumstances surrounding his arrival. Every game he plays will be analyzed, and every improvement or setback will become part of the larger conversation.
Duties, at the same time not getting swept up in the noise that surrounds our game.
Yeah, and I understand that. You get caught up in ring culture and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, there's 29 teams, if that's the case, who are all failures, if that's always the narrative. Because there's only one champion, every year. So, I have the passion and the admiration to host the Larry O'Brien Trophy up every single year, but I also have a realization of, what particular team I have been a part of in that particular year. And, understanding this year, we fought and we played to the maximum ability of our team. But ultimately, if we're being completely honest, we were out-talented. We were not outworked. We were not, they didn't out-physical us. They didn't outsmart us.
Then, just in case anyone thought he misspoke, he reinforced his point. He insisted the Lakers came up short because they simply didn't have enough talent. According to him, Oklahoma City was the more talented team, and that was the difference. He didn't point to poor execution, coaching decisions, or even his own struggles in the fourth quarter. Instead, the lack of talent became the main explanation. And that's where things get interesting. For the past 2 years, LeBron James made it clear that getting Bronny James onto the Lakers was one of his biggest priorities. He openly stated that he would join whichever team drafted his son. He didn't hide it. He actively pushed the idea, campaigned for it, and made sure everyone around the league knew exactly what he wanted.
We can't talk about legacy without talking about the player that the Lakers just drafted in the second round. That will undeniably be a part of LeBron's legacy, playing with his son. How cool is that going to be next season?
It's probably, when it comes to basketball, it's the greatest accomplishment that I've ever had. Done it all as an individual, but there's no greater accomplishment that would be to overtake me being on the same floor as my son. So
he made playing alongside his son a major priority, and the organization had to shape its plans around that goal. Then, after everything was in place, he appeared on a podcast and told millions of viewers that the Lakers simply didn't have enough talent. In other words, he publicly suggested that his own roster wasn't good enough to compete, and Bronny is part of that roster. That's what makes the criticism so controversial. If you play a significant role in influencing the roster, push for your son to be added to the team, and then later describe the entire group as lacking talent, it's difficult to separate those comments from the player you worked so hard to bring in. Whether that was his intention or not, the statement naturally includes everyone on the roster. Now let's look at the numbers, because this is where the discussion shifts from opinion to measurable facts. And the first player to examine is Bronny James.
Season averaged 2.9 points, 0.5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game. He played 42 games at 8.9 minutes a night. There was a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves early in the year where the staff gave him 5 minutes and he recorded 0 points, 0 rebounds, and 0
assists. He finished with virtually no impact in those areas, while opposing guards consistently found ways to attack him. His production at USC painted a similar picture long before he entered the NBA. Bronny averaged 4.8 points and 2.8 rebounds per game, while shooting just 36.6% from the field and 26.7% from beyond the arc. Those aren't the numbers typically associated with a top prospect. They're not what you expect from a strong second-round pick either. Many would argue they're closer to G League level production than NBA-ready results. That is why LeBron's comments sparked so much debate. When he said the Lakers lacked talent, the statistics inevitably bring attention to every player on the roster, including Bronny. Whether intentional or not, those remarks naturally raise questions about the contribution of the very player he strongly supported bringing to the team. The timing also made the criticism more controversial. The Lakers entered the series far from full strength. Luka Doncic was playing through a grade 2 hamstring strain, while Austin Reeves missed 4 of the 6 games because of an oblique injury. Situations like these are usually when a player widely regarded as one of the greatest ever is expected to shoulder the burden, elevate the team, and protect injured teammates from public criticism. Instead, LeBron later spoke on his own podcast and suggested the roster simply wasn't talented enough. To many observers, it sounded as though he was separating himself from the defeat and placing the focus on the players around him. That reaction fueled even more debate because a player who has significant influence over roster decisions can't easily distance himself from the makeup of that roster. Lakers insider Jovan Buha summed up the situation by arguing that the comment
was a not-so-veiled shot at the front office and the organization, and that LeBron has taken those kinds of shots over the last few years.
Miami Game podcast, he talked about the Lakers not having the requisite talent, and not that it was not that they were out-coached by OKC, they were not out-hustled by OKC, they were not out-physicaled by OKC. It was actually talent. They were out-talented by OKC, and that was a not-so-veiled shot at the front office, at the organization, and he's taken those before over the last few years in terms of talking about the roster and the Lakers' lack of talent and the lack of firepower relative to the other top teams in the league. There's the matter of like what type of contract he wants and what the Lakers are willing to offer. There's a matter of, is he willing to take a pay cut for that? And whether he is or not, like what would constitute him wanting to return? What is the level that he wants the roster to get to where he feels like, okay, I want to be here. I want to be a part of this.
According to Lakers insider Jovan Buha, LeBron's comments came across as an attempt to redirect attention away from his own performance and toward the front office, creating distance between himself and the disappointing finish before the offseason had even begun. Reports suggest those remarks did not sit well within the organization. Several Lakers decision-makers were reportedly frustrated after spending significant time and effort accommodating LeBron's priorities, only to hear public comments implying the team had failed to give him enough talent to compete. The effort to bring Bronny to Los Angeles had already become a major storyline. For nearly 2 years, LeBron publicly stated he wanted to play with his son and even suggested he would join whichever team selected Bronny. Those comments dramatically influenced the pre-draft conversation because many around the league believed there was only one realistic outcome. Reports also claimed that LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, informed multiple teams that Bronny could pursue opportunities in Australia if another franchise drafted him in the second round. That reportedly discouraged other organizations and left the Lakers in a difficult position. According to reporting from ESPN, owner Jeannie Buss was privately unhappy with how much influence LeBron and Clutch Sports appeared to have over key organizational decisions. The report suggested she felt pressured into approving moves she otherwise might not have made, while anticipating criticism from fans over the perception of nepotism. Some reports even claimed internal discussions included the possibility of moving on from LeBron simply to reduce the constant power struggle. They also suggested there was disappointment that the accommodations made for him and his family were not publicly appreciated. Viewed together, the situation paints a complicated picture. The organization reportedly made significant compromises to fulfill LeBron's goal of playing alongside his son, only to later hear criticism suggesting management had failed to assemble a talented enough roster. To critics, it appeared he was questioning decisions that he had played a major role in influencing. The basketball consequences became another point of debate. By using the 55th overall pick on Bronny and committing a guaranteed roster spot, some analysts argued the Lakers limited their ability to pursue additional role players, such as perimeter defenders or physical frontcourt depth, areas many believed needed improvement after the playoff loss to Oklahoma City Thunder. Media voices weighed in as well. Doug Gottlieb argued Bronny was not yet ready to contribute consistently at the NBA level, while Adam Finkelstein suggested LeBron's influence over personnel decisions was unlike anything seen from a player before. Together, those opinions fueled the argument that the roster issues being criticized were partly connected to decisions LeBron himself had helped shape. The story reportedly became even more personal after Bronny learned about his father's comments. Many believe a parent's first instinct should be to shield their child from criticism, yet LeBron's remarks were interpreted by some as indirectly criticizing a roster that included his own son. Reports claimed Bronny privately told people close to him that his father was entitled to his opinions, but that those opinions were not always correct. If accurate, those comments suggest the emotional weight of the situation. Rather than simply trying to establish himself as a young NBA player, Bronny found himself at the center of one of the league's biggest storylines. Looking back, some point to Bronny's comments before the 2024 NBA draft as evidence that he envisioned a different path. At the draft combine, he explained that his goal was to build his own career and earn his place in the league, adding that although LeBron had mentioned playing together, it was never something he personally focused on. To many observers, those remarks reflected a desire to develop naturally instead of entering the NBA under extraordinary expectations.